Hello, welcome back. Today we'll talk about one of the coolest feature I would say in 2021 release wave 2, which is unhindered data entry across rows. Now, let me give you a brief history of why this is one of the coolest feature. Um, People who had been in the space from the classic line time, uh, they would remember hearing about problems about slowness into the system when the role tailor client was launched in NAV 2009. That was the beginning. And then when the modern client was introduced, we again heard the similar kind of problems. And when I say modern client, that's more or less the web client, which is the system is super slow in comparison to my previous system. And most of those problems were around data entry. That my data entry is slow, it used to be way faster in my previous version. And this is also one of the common reason why people are sticking to so-called dynamic snap or business central on-premises environment of Windows client, which is where business central 14 was the last version with the Windows client. Now, understand this if you have heard it, that there are people who actually, you know, type the info into the system or feed the data into the system throughout the day, like whatever they are working on. And a slowness in a keystroke when they are trying to enter some data becomes a very big problem when there is huge sum of transaction that need to be keyed in. So it's not a small problem. So Microsoft have paid attention to that issue that has been noticed with announcement of Business Central, that there are the slowness when data is being entered. And one of the common thing that we used to do in the previous versions was copy the value from the previous row using an F8. And F8 was still available in the previous versions of Business Central, but it used to take time to validate that data which is just copied. And then, it used to lost, if you're typing it very fast, it used to lost whatever you are typing and will end up with an error message. So what Microsoft have done is remove some of these boundaries to kind of validate at the time when the user is entering them, but it kind of takes it behind the scene and validates it as it goes. Behind the scene, page will continue to validate the data that you have entered, but will not stop you if you're trying to type that value. So let's actually go into the client and see what I mean by that. So for the demo, I'm using my Docker environment of Business Central 19, and let's move to a journal page. Let's say cat journal. Now, you might be dealing with this page throughout the day. I'm not, as a technical consultant, but there are people who, you know, deal with these kind of pages where there is so much data entry to happen. And the best thing would be that my data entry happens pretty fast. So the first thing that I was talking about is you can actually click an F8, which is cool, right? You can also copy other things. At the same time, now with this release, you can also copy a Boolean field if required. You can just click F8 and it'll get copied from the top. But now let's talk about if somebody has to type 1,000 lines. Well, let's say, just for the scenario sake, the account number remains same. And I'll start kind of doing my activity in a faster way, which is F8 and down arrow key, and let's see how it behaves. So I'm doing F8 and down arrow key, and you can see as I'm doing it, it'll start typing that. Okay, let me start doing that. Okay, so it doesn't take that much time to validate this, and maybe let me try it on my actual business environment rather than doing it on my sandbox Docker environment, because that will make more sense. Okay, So I'll try it on my cloud environment. It's one of the demo environment, so it might not be as efficient as your production environment, but I'm pretty sure it should be better than my Docker environment. So let's try that here. Okay, I already have a line here, and let me try selecting an account number. Now what I'm doing is F8 and down arrow, and you can see how fast I can do it. In the same way, the system is respecting whatever I'm doing on my keyboard and typing it or copying it in the same manner. And as I said, it's just not limited to a related field. If I have to do manual calculation where you have a keypad and you start typing the amount values, it'll respect all the values that you're entering. So it makes it super efficient in terms of when you get stuck with a question with your customer, that the system is super slow. It takes so long time to enter records. It doesn't. And it's just not the journal pages. You can try it on your sales order lines, on your purchase order lines, or any other document for that matter. It reduces that time delay that it used to take while a value is typed or an F8 key is entered and the validation happens. So it's a huge improvement in 2021 release wave 2, which I'm pretty sure which will encourage so many customers to upgrade to the latest and the greatest version and utilize the capabilities of the product. So let me know in comments how you think about this feature. Do you think it'll be useful for the users or not? And I'll see you tomorrow with the next video on what's new in 2021 release wave 2.